Okay, let's talk about a skill that honestly runs the entire modern workplace. It's something that can literally make or break careers, projects, and even whole companies. We are diving into the art and science of professional communication.
So let me just ask you something right off the bat. When you think about the most valuable, the most crucial skill you can possibly have in your career, what pops into your head? Is it coding? Maybe data analysis? Project management?
Well, you might be surprised by the answer. Because while all those technical skills are, absolutely vital, they all depend on something way more fundamental. And that's because, in the world we live in today, communication isn't just some soft skill you tack on to the bottom of your resume. For a whole lot of us, communication is the actual work. This right here really puts it all into perspective. See, we're in what's called a knowledge economy. Your value isn't just about what you can build with your hands, it's about what you can explain, what you can articulate. Communication is basically the pipeline that moves an idea from one person's head to another, and that's how value gets created. But at the same time, we're also in a risk society. A single misunderstood email, a poorly worded announcement, that can lead to disaster. We're talking security breaches, PR nightmares, you name it. So clear communication, that's your shield. And just look at the sheer scope of what we're talking about. This isn't just one thing. It covers everything from the everyday stuff, like informal reports and quick messages, all the way up to the really high-stakes work, like delivering bad news or managing a full-blown crisis. Every single one of these things hinges on how well you can communicate. Okay, so if we're going to get this right, we have to understand what's really going on when we try to communicate. It's not just about blasting information out into the world. It's about building a bridge from your mind to someone else's. So let's take a look at the blueprint for that bridge.
So it all begins with an idea, right? Just a thought in your head. Well, encoding is just the fancy word for translating that thought into actual words, symbols, and tone. Whether you're writing an email or giving a presentation, you're essentially packaging that idea up for delivery.
But here's where it gets tricky. As your message travels across that bridge, it runs into noise. And listen, noise isn't just a bad Wi-Fi signal on a video call. It can be psychological too. Maybe the person you're talking to is super stressed out, or they're distracted by a dozen other things, or they just have their own biases that color how they interpret your words. All of that is noise. And finally, your message arrives, and the receiver has to decode it. This is the most critical part of the whole process. They interpret what you said through the filter of their entire world, their past experiences, their mood at that exact moment, their culture. The point is, the meaning you sent isn't always the meaning they receive. And this is exactly why things so often go wrong. We put up these barriers. A lack of clarity is a huge one. Saying you'll get something done soon. What does that even mean? Then you've got emotional reactions, cultural misunderstandings, and just plain information overload. But maybe the biggest barrier of all, poor listening. We're all guilty of it, listening just so we can figure out what we're going to say next, instead of actually listening to understand. So, if we know what the barriers are, how do we get past them? Well, a huge part of the answer comes down to the practical skill of writing. Because let's be real, every single message you send is fighting for a tiny slice of someone's incredibly limited attention. The best way to win that fight is to have a clear process. So many of us just jump straight to drafting, and that's where we get lost. The real magic, the real success, happens in the planning phase. Before you type a single word, you have to know why you're writing and who you're writing for. Only then do you draft. And after that, you revise with one single goal in mind, making it easier for the reader. And the heart and soul of great professional writing is conciseness. Now, this doesn't just mean being short for the sake of being short. It means being efficient. It means you cut out every single word that doesn't add value. Honestly, it's the ultimate form of professional respect because you're showing the reader that you value the one thing they can't get more of, their time. All right, let's talk about one of the toughest challenges out there, delivering bad news. How in the world do you communicate something negative while still protecting your professional relationships? Well, you've basically got two playbooks here. On one side, you have the direct approach. This is straight to the point, best when things are urgent. But on the other side, you have the indirect approach. And this one is often way better for sensitive topics because it gives you a chance to prepare the reader before you drop the bad news on them. A key part of that indirect approach is something called a buffer.
So a buffer is basically a neutral, respectful opening that kind of sets the stage. It's not about hiding the truth, not at all. Think of it more like softening the landing. It shows respect for the reader's feelings before you have to deliver that difficult information.
So, as we start to bring all of this together, I want you to reframe this whole topic in your mind. Don't think of professional communication as some chore you have to do. Think of it as your career's secret weapon. It's your superpower. I absolutely love this quote because it just nails it. Your job with every email, with every presentation, is to take something complex and confusing and make it clear. And when you do that successfully, you allow a group of people to actually work together and get things done. That is an incredibly powerful skill to have. You know, at the end of the day, this is not about being a perfect writer with perfect grammar. Nobody expects that. It's about being understood. It's about building trust. It's about showing people that you're a reliable colleague, a thoughtful teammate, and someone who has the clarity and foresight of a real leader. So there you have it. You've got the framework now. You understand the communication bridge, you know the barriers that can bring it crashing down, and you have the tools to build it stronger than ever. The only question left is, how are you going to use it? Starting with your very next email?